There is a kind of mystery that settles over the human heart when it realizes that it is being watched, not by the ordinary gaze of passing strangers, nor by the innocent eyes of a friend who merely observes with warmth, but by the relentless and tethered gaze of one who has bound their very thoughts around your existence. It is not an accusation at first, nor even a revelation that feels alarming, but rather a whisper that grows steadily louder. You begin to notice that even when you walk in silence, even when you are alone, even when no sound stirs in the corridors of your mind, a presence follows. And that presence is not merely the echo of your own memory, not merely the recollection of faces you have known, but the weight of a name unspoken. A name so persistently chained to your journey that it trades behind you like a shadow that cannot be dismissed. What is it that compels another to fix themselves so tightly upon your being? Why should your steps, ordinary as they are, summon the interest of another to the point of obsession? It is not your grandeur, for you may have none. It is not your brilliance, for perhaps your words do not glitter like polished jewels. It is not even your beauty, for beauty fades and yet the fixation endures. No, it is something more haunting, something buried beneath the folds of the soul. It is the mystery of being known by someone who does not truly know you, and yet believes with unwavering conviction that they do. The strange and unsettling truth about obsession is that it thrives not upon reality, but upon imagination. The one who is obsessed with you does not see you as you are, but as they have fashioned you to be in the theater of their mind. You are no longer a person with flaws, contradictions, moments of weakness, and untold depths of individuality. You are instead a portrait, painted in colors they have chosen, framed in gold that they have crafted, hung upon the wall of their desire where you cannot move nor speak without their permission. They see you not as a living, breathing soul but as a character in the story they wish to tell. And so the name of the obsessed clings to you, not because they have truly understood you, but because they have woven you into the very fabric of their illusions. It is a dangerous thing to be carried in the heart of another in such a manner. For love, when it is true, always sets free. It desires the good of the beloved more than the possession of them. But obsession does not set free. It binds, it chains, it drags, it clutches. It whispers that you belong not to yourself but to another, that your choices are not your own, that your future cannot unfold without their intervention. The name that echoes behind you does not echo as a prayer, but as a demand. It does not ask for your flourishing, it insists upon your presence. And so you feel the weight of this unseen hand pressing against your steps, and you wonder whether it is possible to live unshadowed again. Consider the subtlety with which obsession weaves itself into the daily rhythm of life. At first, it is flattering. Someone notices you, someone remembers you, someone calls your name when others have forgotten. There is sweetness in the thought that you are precious enough to linger in the mind of another. But that sweetness soon curdles when you realize that the attention has shifted from gentle remembrance to unyielding fixation. You see it in their words that circle endlessly around the same themes, in their eyes that follow without rest, in their gestures that cross the boundary between affection and control. What once felt like kindness now feels like a net, and you stand like a bird whose wings tremble against the cords that have closed in. The name of the one obsessed with you is not always spoken aloud, yet it is carved invisibly into the air you breathe. You hear it in the silence, as though it drips from the corners of unseen walls. You feel it when you lay down to rest, as though the weight of their thoughts presses upon your dreams. You recognize it when you wake in the morning, as though their longing had already arrived before you stirred. Such is the strange haunting of obsession. It does not need proximity to exert its influence, for it thrives in the imagination, and imagination requires no permission. Yet here lies the deeper question. Why do we allow the shadow of obsession to fall upon us without resistance? Why do we walk beneath its weight as though it were unavoidable? Perhaps it is because there is a hidden hunger in every heart to be wanted, to be desired, to be sought after with a zeal that does not fade. We crave the assurance that we are not easily dismissed, that someone, somewhere, holds us in the center of their attention. And so we tolerate the presence of obsession because it feels like proof of our worth. But what a dangerous exchange that is. To trade freedom for flattery, to mistake possession for love, to allow chains to bind us simply because they glitter in the light. There is also the peril of not recognizing when obsession has crossed the threshold from harmless admiration into something far more consuming. For admiration delights in who you are, it rejoices in your growth, it delights in your choices, it blesses your journey, even when it does not walk beside you. But obsession resents your growth, for growth means change, and change threatens the portrait they have fixed of you. Obsession despises your choices, for choice means independence, and independence is rebellion against their imagined ownership. Obsession curses your journey, for your journey leads beyond their grasp, into lands where their gaze cannot follow. And so the obsessed clings more tightly the further you attempt to go, dragging you back into the prison they have built with their own desires. The name of the one who obsesses over you is both a secret and a snare. You may know it, or you may not, but either way, its echo is enough to alter the rhythm of your days. You begin to act differently when you sense the gaze upon you, to speak differently when you imagine their ears listening, to move differently when you feel their shadow pressing close. It is as though your life is no longer wholly your own, but shared unwillingly with another, whose desire has trespassed into your very identity. You are no longer simply yourself. You are yourself as seen through the distorting glass of another's fixation. And yet, you must not forget that shadows cannot exist without light. Obsession lingers in your shadow precisely because there is something in you that shines, something worth noticing, something luminous that has drawn another's gaze. And while that gaze has turned unhealthy, while it has shifted from reverence into enslavement, the truth remains that you carry within you a radiance that is real. Do not allow the distortion of obsession to convince you that your light is a curse. Your light is a gift. But like all gifts, it must be guarded, lest those who cannot bear its brilliance attempt to snuff it out or seize it for themselves. The mystery of obsession is that it tells more about the one who obsesses than about the one who is obsessed over. For obsession reveals hunger, emptiness, longing that has nowhere else to go. It is a mirror of need, not a reflection of worth. The one who clings to you with such intensity is not declaring your infinite value, but exposing their infinite lack. And so their name, though it haunts you, need not define you. Their gaze, though it follows you, need not bind you. Their shadow, though it lingers, cannot extinguish your freedom unless you consent to remain in its reach. And so you walk on, carrying the knowledge that someone, somewhere, has chained their heart to yours with threads of unyielding desire. You hear their name in whispers, you sense their presence in echoes, you feel their hand lingering in your shadow. But you are not a prisoner of their fixation. You are more than the sum of their illusions. You are a soul fashioned with a purpose greater than another's hunger, a being made to walk in light that no shadow can finally overcome. There is a difference, sharp and unyielding, between being loved and being consumed. Love, when it is real, has the fragrance of gentleness, the patience of time, the honor of freedom. It does not clutch, it does not demand, it does not suffocate. It breathes life into the beloved, it rejoices in their growth. It welcomes their independence, and it celebrates even the distance that may come with the unfolding of their journey. But obsession, though it dresses itself in the garments of love, is something far more sinister. It is not love's tender embrace, but hunger's ravenous grip, not the warmth of a hearth, but the blaze of a wildfire, not the music of joy, but the drumbeat of possession. And so we must speak of it as it is, a fire that consumes and distorts, leaving behind not flourishing but ashes. The one who obsesses over you may whisper the words of love, but their words betray their hunger. For hunger is never satisfied with enough. It always craves more, it always reaches further, it always demands what cannot rightly belong to it. Love says, I delight in who you are. Hunger says, I must have you, and I cannot rest until I do. Love honors boundaries, knowing that the beloved is their own sovereign soul. Hunger despises boundaries, seeing them only as walls to be broken, locks to be picked, obstacles to be destroyed. Thus, obsession is not a declaration of your worth, but a proclamation of their lack, a revelation that they are so empty within themselves that they must feed upon another to survive. This is why obsession distorts. It twists the face of affection into something almost unrecognizable. What began as admiration turns into jealousy. What began as interest becomes control. What began as warmth turns into fire that scorches. The obsessed cannot see you as you are because they are blinded by their need. You become, in their mind, not a person but a possession, not a soul but a source of sustenance, not an equal but a captive. And though they may call their hunger love, it is not love, for true love cannot coexist with chains. The peril of being desired without being truly known lies in this very distortion. For what greater loneliness is there than to be looked at constantly, yet never truly seen? What greater tragedy is there than to be cherished not for who you are, but for who someone imagines you to be? It is like standing before a mirror that shows not your reflection, but a painted mask. No matter how long you gaze, you cannot find yourself there. You may be adored, but you are not known. You may be praised, but you are not understood. You may be pursued, but you are not respected. And so, though the obsessed may surround you with gestures and words, your heart remains unseen. Your soul remains untouched. Your freedom remains threatened. To be truly known is to be seen in both light and shadow, in both strength and weakness, in both glory and frailty. True love embraces the whole, not just the fragments it desires. But obsession refuses to see the whole. It selects, edits, and recreates. It takes your light and ignores your shadow, or worse, it invents shadows where none exist, because the portrait it paints of you must match the hunger it carries. Thus, obsession is not only a fire but a lie that disguises itself as intimacy, but in truth, it knows nothing of you. Imagine for a moment the burden of being placed on a pedestal not of your choosing. At first, it may feel like honor. To be lifted high, to be admired, to be adored, it sounds like glory. But a pedestal is not a throne, it is a prison. It demands stillness, perfection, immobility. The moment you move, you risk toppling. The moment you falter, you risk shattering the illusion. And the one who placed you there does not love you. They love the statue they carved of you in their mind. They do not see your beating heart, your trembling doubts, your fragile humanity. They only see the idol they have made, and they will worship it even as they crush you beneath the weight of their expectations. This is the cruelest hunger of all, the hunger that mistakes idolatry for love. And so obsession consumes not only the obsessed, but also the one who is obsessed over. For the fire spreads both ways. The one who obsesses burns with unquenchable desire, and the one who is the object of that desire feels the searing heat. You begin to feel guilty for being yourself, guilty for not fulfilling their imagined picture, guilty for having flaws, guilty for not shining brightly enough to match their fantasy. And guilt becomes another chain, one that tightens with every step. You begin to shrink your freedom, silence your voice, dim your light, not because you wish to, but because you fear the fire that will flare if you do not. Thus, obsession seeks to remake you, not in your true image, but in the false image they demand. But here is the truth that must be spoken. No one is meant to carry the weight of being another's obsession. You were not fashioned to be the food of someone's hunger. You were not designed to be the possession of another's fire. You were made to live, to breathe, to walk in freedom, to grow without fear. And when someone's desire becomes a prison, when their longing becomes a chain, when their hunger becomes your burden, you must recognize it not as love but as bondage. This recognition is not easy, for obsession disguises itself so well. It cloaks itself in flattery. You are all I think about. It cloaks itself in devotion. I cannot live without you. It cloaks itself in sacrifice. Everything I do for you. But beneath these words lies the truth: such devotion is not for your good, but for their survival. Such sacrifice is not for your joy, but for their control. Such flattery is not about your worth, but about their emptiness. And so the cloak must be torn away, the disguise must be unveiled, and the fire must be named for what it is: a consuming hunger, not a life-giving love. What, then, does it mean to resist such obsession? It means first to know yourself as more than the object of another's desire. It means remembering that your worth is not measured by the intensity of someone's longing, but by the fact that you exist as a soul of infinite dignity. It means daring to step down from the pedestal, daring to break the chains, daring to walk through the fire without letting it consume you. It means embracing the loneliness that may come when you refuse the false love of obsession, for better to be alone in truth than accompanied in distortion. The lesson here is not only personal but universal, for obsession is not confined to romance. It seeps into friendships, into ambitions, into pursuits of power and fame. How many souls have been destroyed not by hatred, but by hunger disguised as love? How many lives have been distorted not by rejection, but by possession mistaken for affection? The danger is the same. When you are desired without being truly known, you become less than yourself, and the fire consumes both the one who burns and the one who is burned. And yet, even in this fire, there is hope. For hunger cannot last forever. Flames, however fierce, eventually exhaust themselves when denied their fuel. If you refuse to feed the obsession, if you stand firm in the truth of who you are, if you hold fast to your dignity, then the fire will dwindle. The one who obsesses may rage, may cling, may cry out, but in time, their hunger will confront its own emptiness. And though the ashes may remain, though the scars may linger, you will find yourself standing free, no longer the possession of another's fire, but the keeper of your own light. To be loved is to be seen, cherished, and honored. To be obsessed over is to be consumed, distorted, and controlled. May you learn always to tell the difference. May you never mistake hunger for love, nor fire for warmth, nor possession for intimacy. And may you guard your heart against those who would desire you without truly knowing you. For in guarding it, you preserve not only your freedom but your very self. There is a peculiar sweetness in being praised, a sweetness so potent that it can lull even the strongest of souls into a kind of sleep. When another turns their gaze toward you with admiration, when their words fall upon your ears like honey, when their gestures seem to say that you are the very center of their attention, there is a part of you that begins to believe it. It feels good to be remembered, to be noticed, to be cherished, to be told that you are unlike any other. And yet, sweetness can be deceiving. For just as wine can gladden the heart yet intoxicate the mind, so too can flattery delight the spirit yet dull the judgment. And here lies the danger. To remain too long under the intoxication of flattery is to lose the sharpness of discernment, to forget the difference between a love that frees and a hunger that enslaves. The call, then, is to awaken, to rouse yourself from the dream that being adored is always a blessing, to shake free from the haze that convinces you that admiration must always be trusted, to open your eyes to the possibility that beneath the sweetness lies a snare. Flattery is not always false, but it is always dangerous, for it does not necessarily reveal the heart of the one who offers it. A person may speak words of praise, not because they see you, but because they wish to bind you. They may lift you up not because they honor you, but because they hope to keep you in their grasp. And so discernment is required. The discernment to distinguish between affection that grants wings and obsession that forges chains. What is the mark of affection that frees? It is patience. It does not rush, it does not demand, it does not insist. It waits for you to grow in your own time, to bloom in your own season. It rejoices when you take flight, even if your flight carries you into skies where they cannot follow. True affection delights in your freedom, for it knows that love cannot thrive in captivity. It speaks words of encouragement, not to control, but to bless, not to flatter, but to strengthen. Its gaze does not suffocate, it steadies. Its presence does not haunt, it comforts. When you are seen with such affection, you are not diminished but enlarged, not enslaved but set free. And what is the mark of obsession that enslaves? It is urgency. It cannot wait, it cannot rest. It cannot allow you to move at your own pace. It seeks to hurry you, to corner you, to bind you to the pace of its hunger. It is restless when you are absent, agitated when you are distant, furious when you are independent. Obsession does not rejoice when you flourish apart from it, it resents it. It does not delight when you grow, it fears it. Its flattery is not encouragement but bait, designed to lure you into surrender. Its gaze does not steady but pierces, its presence does not comfort but constrains. Where true affection frees, obsession enslaves. Where love gives, obsession takes. Where love blesses, obsession consumes. The peril of intoxication is that it dulls the senses so that these distinctions blur. When flattery fills your ears, you forget to listen for the tone beneath the words. When admiration lifts you high, you forget to notice the chains that are quietly being fastened around your ankles. When attention surrounds you like sunlight, you forget to test whether it warms or burns. And so the call is urgent: awaken, awaken, awaken. For only the awake can discern the difference. Consider how flattery speaks. It tells you that you are the only one, that no one else compares, that life without you is unthinkable, that you are the answer to every longing of their soul. These words sound like devotion, but they conceal a subtle poison. For the heart that is truly free does not need to enslave another to survive. It may cherish you, but it does not collapse without you. It may rejoice in your presence, but it does not despair into nothingness in your absence. It may value you highly, but it does not reduce you to a necessity. Flattery, however, makes you feel as though you are indispensable, not because you are truly honored, but because you are being claimed. And when you believe such flattery, you begin to mistake your captivity for importance. Awakening requires courage, for it means daring to test the sweetness, to question the praise, to examine the devotion. It means asking, does this affection bless me, or does it bind me? Does it enlarge my freedom, or does it shrink it? Does it honor who I am, or does it demand who I am not? These are hard questions, for the intoxication of flattery whispers that such doubts are ungrateful, that questioning devotion is cruel, that refusing admiration is arrogance. But wisdom knows otherwise. Wisdom knows that it is not cruelty to test what claims to be love. Wisdom knows that affection which is genuine will withstand examination, and only obsession will rage at the questions. The difference between affection and obsession is like the difference between open hands and clenched fists. Affection opens its hands, offering itself freely and allowing you to come and go. Obsession closes its fists, gripping tightly and refusing to let go. Affection says, I love you as you are. Obsession says, I cannot live unless you are mine. Affection celebrates your independence, obsession despises it. Affection is secure in itself, obsession is desperate. To awaken is to notice the posture of the hands extended toward you. Are they open, blessing you with freedom, or are they clenched, ready to drag you into captivity? There is also a deeper awakening, the realization that the intoxication of flattery preys upon your hidden wounds. For who among us does not long to be valued? Who among us does not ache to be seen, to be chosen, to be cherished? Obsession knows this, and so it cloaks itself in the very words we most desire to hear. It tells us we are unique, irreplaceable, essential, adored, and because our souls hunger for such affirmation, we drink deeply, unaware that the sweetness carries chains. Thus, to awaken is not only to discern others, but also to know yourself, to recognize where your heart is vulnerable to flattery, where your longing makes you susceptible to captivity. For only when you know your own hunger can you resist being captured by another's hunger. The tragedy of remaining asleep is not only the loss of freedom, but the loss of true love itself. For obsession drives out affection, just as smoke drives out air. When you are enslaved by another's fixation, you cannot taste the joy of being freely loved. You cannot experience the blessing of being known without being controlled. You cannot walk in the beauty of companionship that does not clutch. And so the longer you sleep, intoxicated by flattery, the more you lose of the very thing you long for most, genuine love. The call, then, is not only to awaken but to remain awake, to cultivate a vigilance that does not despise affection but discerns it, to welcome encouragement without being ensnared by it, to delight in being cherished while testing whether the cherishing is true, to guard your freedom fiercely, not because you are cold, but because freedom is the only soil in which love can truly grow. Affection that frees is a gift beyond price. It will steady you when you stumble, rejoice when you succeed, remain when you falter, and release you when you must go. Obsession that enslaves is a curse cloaked in sweetness. It will flatter you until you are drunk, bind you until you are captive, consume you until you are ashes, and leave you empty when it is done. The call is clear: awaken, discern, and choose wisely. For the difference between affection and obsession is the difference between life and death, between freedom and bondage, between joy and despair. And so, when the flattery comes, as it surely will, do not despise it, but do not sleep in it either. Let it brush against you, but do not let it bind you. Let it encourage you, but do not let it intoxicate you. Test it, weigh it, discern it. For the one who truly loves you will not enslave you, and the one who enslaves you does not truly love you.